Page 43, Night Riders. On page 42, they are introducing you to the chromatic scale. This is one of the scales I did not do in my scale videos. I just really don't see the importance of doing this. I mean, you got to learn the chromatic scale, but you'll use it so much. And a lot of times when you're playing it in pieces, you don't use the same fingering as you would use in the scale. You use a fingering as you need for that piece. It changes. Now, simply meaning a chromatic scale is you're playing every note. It's all half steps. They show it at the beginning. And generally, not all, generally you're going to use the thumb on the white note and the third finger on the black notes. Now, when you have two white notes together, you have to use the thumb and the index finger on them, okay? If you're interested in practicing it, just use the same approach I used on the scale videos. The 1, 2, 3, and 4 octaves, parallel and contrary. You can do it all with a chromatic scale too. Which note you start on really doesn't matter. I think most people, when they do it, they generally start on a C. You don't have to, because a chromatic scale doesn't really have a starting note. It's a chromatic scale. It plays every note, so whatever. Coming down is the same thing. It's generally with again, we have these two, so I'm going to start on index finger coming down. That is not the only fingering for chromatic scale. Most of the time, I use a different one. You'll learn that as you get into the music. When you run across a chromatic passage in a piece, like in Night Riders, you're going to finger those chromatic scales. It's the first measure of every line. It's a chromatic passage. You're going to finger it however you need to for the piece. But generally, a starting point is the standard fingering I showed you before. It's a 1 on the white, or 1 or 2 on the white notes, and a third on the black notes, generally. And then you can branch out from there to figure out a better fingering that works for you. Here in Night Riders, right at the beginning, we're not starting with a thumb for that chromatic scale, right? Just starting with 4th finger because it's handy. Right? I mean, it's just handy. You have to contract your hand a little. Okay. I recommend a slightly different fingering because I don't like using the thumb that often if I don't have to. In a chromatic scale, you usually have to use the thumb that often because you're alternating 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3 a lot. But in a music piece, you don't have to do that so much. So I'm suggesting this fingering. Start out with the 4, 3, 2, 1, just like that. But rather than a 2 on the E flat, I recommend a 3 on the E flat, and a 2 on the D, and a 5 on the G. To me, this is a much faster and more agile fingering than what they're showing. Okay, they're doing this way. I'm suggesting this way. I'm suggesting this same fingering on the first 3 lines. On the second line, rather than a G, you got to come up to an A, but you can still do that. Just lift your, reach out a little bit. That's fine. It's not a problem. Little finger can do amazing things if you let it. Last line, however, you're going down. Right, that changes everything. Now I recommend, they're starting out with the 3rd finger on the, because you're not starting on a G, you're starting on a G flat. They're saying 3, 1, 3, 1. Just a regular scale passage. I'm saying it's unnecessary. I like do this. The first 3 notes is fine. 3, 2, 1. But now I'm suggesting you do a 4th finger and just follow the fingers. Using the 4th finger in a scale passage, a chromatic passage, is very common in piano, and I suggest you get used to it. just as well start now. So use the fourth finger on the E flat, and then you just 3, 2, 1. Then you have to cross over again, put the third finger on the B flat for the next to the last measure. The left hand just has the staccato chords, and a nice wrist staccato is fine. You can use arm if you want, a wrist is okay. It is a loud piece, but the left hand isn't supposed to be as loud as the right. Now watch out on this chord, you have a G minor chord to start, and then the next chord is a G, C, E flat. Right, you got to come in a little bit, so be careful. Next line, it's a 5/7 chord. Kind of cool, huh? Last line, left hand, next to the last measure, F sharp on that one, and then come down to a 1 chord. Yes, this is in the key of G minor. G minor has 2 flats, just like B flat major does. Let's try this out, it's kind of fun. 3/4 time will give us 3 counts, and we'll do it slowly. 1 and ready and go, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Off. Now I don't know if there's any recordings of this or not, but if vivace is the speed they want you to take at the beginning of vivace, that's fast. I mean, that's faster than allegro. I mean, that's getting up there. It's not as fast as you can play it, but it's fast. It's quick, super quick. So I might play it something like this.